the 900 stories, they weren't all good. Some of them were stories that even a mother probably couldn't love, but there were a lot of good stories, and it's an awful job really to, especially for somebody that's been rejected as many times as me, to have to whittle down, and then have to. I mean, there can only be one winner, and I think we had 6 on the short list, and we had about 850 on the long list. No, we didn't. We had about 30 or something. But the winning story is a fantastic story. I was a little bit horrified to hear about an hour ago that it's the winner's first story, which augurs well for the future, I suppose. You get to hear it when if he's even here. But it was a daunting task. 900 stories. If you've never seen a pile of 900 stories, you probably can't visualize it. But it is a mountain, and I was glad to get through them. But the winning story is a very deserved winner. The thing that I look for when I read the stories is the language. Really, it's the control of the voice, and the sort of the control that the writer has over what they're doing. And this has a, if it's natural, we might as well all give up, I think, because if it's the first story. But I'm not going to say much more. I'm just going to introduce the winner. It's Mike Allen. He's here. Thank God. Mike Allen.
Thanks, Billy. Just before I start, I'm going to say thank you to Patrick and everyone who's run this festival. I've just had such a lovely time. It's been really great to be here, so I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity. Just to spend some time with other writers and people who are so enthusiastic about short stories. It's just been... I'm just going to wait 1 second for my heart to descend from my throat. Okay. This is cool. This is a story told in fragments. It's called Come Closer. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. She tells me about ancient lines drawn in red ochre on the ceiling of a Spanish cave. Apparently, at first, the lines seem random and abstract, arbitrary markings, simple shapes. But if looked at a certain way, they begin to shift and coalesce, cohering into a single figure, a babirusa, or deer pig. Just think, she says, this could be the record of the moment our species first woke up to its own cognition. The modern mind switched on like a light. The flat is small, but the rent is reduced because of damp. There are blemishes around the plug sockets and light switches the colour of old teeth. Dark patches bloom beneath the windows, the wallpaper collecting more water, more weight, until it begins to peel away. The corners of the carpet are curling and one edge doesn't quite reach the skirting board. I pull up a corner and find an empty envelope, some fragile newspaper dating from the 80s, and a scattering of old copper pennies, hard and bright, buried like arrowheads beneath. Our life together is filled with other people's things. The mint green towels are on loan from my aunt. The kettle and bed sheets we borrowed from her older sister. Whoever lived here last left an empty suitcase under the bed. Our fridge door is covered in magnets from places we haven't been. She has asserted herself everywhere with long black hairs that coil on the balding carpet. Her patterned socks decorate the radiators. Abandoned cups perch at the edge of any available surface. The only things that are mine are a warped Wilco frying pan and a mocha pot with a scorched face that will probably always taste of soap. The gummy seal around the windows has rotted and crumbles when touched. In the little cupboard with the gas meter, there's a black plastic bucket containing a spirit level, several hardened paintbrushes, and variously sized screwdrivers. Simple tools for forgotten jobs. I don't trust our sofa. Its crusty cavities. I found all kinds of things wedged beneath the cushions. Forks, crushed cigarettes, a tiny key that doesn't fit anywhere. This morning I found, buried in the gap beneath the armrest, a crystal turtle about the size of my fist. At least I thought it was crystal, Swarovski or something. I showed it to her and she turned it over, looking for a mark. Not Swarovski, she said. Not even crystal. She looked it up online, just a cheap glass turtle. She put it on the windowsill by the sprig of mint that will not grow. Humans can sleep for days at a time if there's no light, she says, using the shower head to rinse her hair over the side of the tub in nothing but her knickers. 2 towels, one large, one small, are heaped on the floor by her feet. I am stood precariously on a folding chair with a burnt-out bulb in my hand. The glass light fitting in the bathroom is oddly baroque, misted and bell-shaped, with a scalloped trim that gives it the look of a deep-water jellyfish. The glass is stained slightly yellow, from heat exposure, I suppose, and a new, too long energy-saving bulb peeps rudely from the opening. I move what furniture we have to cover the scars in the carpet, careful to step over the dirty plates, empty yogurt pots, magazines, assorted receipts and crumpled tissues that cluster on the floor around wherever she happens to be. I clean the tiny kitchenette, which is really just a sink, a fridge, an electric hob, and a blue arrangement of lino floor tiles that cut into the corner of the living room. The lino is partially lit by a golden, noirish light from the not-quite neon of the Chinese takeaway across the road. There is a square of less discoloured tiles where once a washing machine might have stood. She slumps on the sofa, pulls her legs up and hooks them around a cushion. She opens a magazine and picks the polish off her nails, pries pistachios apart and drops their shells into a chipped Tinkerbell cup, which is also an ashtray. She sits on the floor making lists, spiral-bound notepads and post-its in the back of counterattack letters, lists filled with hopes, plans and possibilities, all written in a loose, whirlwind hand. She has a habit of spilling her entire life onto the bed and leaving it there for me to clear up. I shake the old bulb and listen to its fragile filament sing tinnily in my ear. She asks me why I haven't thrown it away. They don't make these bulbs anymore, I say. This bulb marks the end of an era. This bulb was a relic. She has this way of looking at me with a sideways squint, as though I've just told a joke. I find her submerged in milky bathwater. It flows between her glowing knees, around the simple symmetry of her breasts, and collects in the hollow notch at the base of her neck. Soaps, lit candles, teacups, razors, lotions, shampoos, sea salt scrubs are balanced on the shallow ledge surrounding the tub. She closes her eyes and slides under until she is nose deep, a voice from the laptop guiding her to connect to her breath. I summon the strength to do the washing up, filling the sink with water that takes forever to get warm. On the TV, refugees are moving north in their thousands, crossing the Mediterranean at night, crowded boats. They carry children, passports, painkillers, bottled water, torches, plastic bags, sellotape, cigarettes, dates, lemons. They travel unimaginable distances to cross abstract borders. I let a plate drift to the bottom of the sink with a soft clunk and drain the water, watch the foam flush away. Almost simultaneously I hear the bath emptying, and the gutter gurgles outside, connecting us via an endless series of pipes and sewers and tributaries to any possible ocean. We notice a bad smell coming from somewhere, a fusty, deathly smell, and trace it to a potentially noxious blue-grey mould evolving into something increasingly sinister under the bathroom sink. It is even more pungent up close. I think I feel my throat constrict and spend hours on the laptop researching respiratory symptoms. Lung infections, chronic fatigue, autoimmune diseases. I take pictures and email the landlord, whose auto-reply states that he is away for 2 weeks and isn't picking up his phone. I lie awake at night, imagining billions of minuscule airborne spores swarming through the rooms to coat our lungs and infest our blood. At 7 o'clock, she is sat on the sofa watching a documentary about cave paintings. She is clipping her toenails onto a square of kitchen paper, and there are 2 half cups of tea and an open packet of hobnobs balanced on the cushion beside her. I think she has forgotten that we are supposed to be going out. I sit on the arm of the sofa and ask her about the caves. She says that they were discovered 100 years ago, somewhere in northern Spain, and that they contain the earliest known images made by modern humans, or possibly even Neanderthals, animals and abstract symbols and hand impressions in charcoal and red and yellow pigment that have been sitting below ground in the dark for over 65,000 years. Then she looks up at me and says, "You're wearing a shirt." I light candles and place them by the glass turtle and old bulb like a prayer. I water the brittle sprig of mint. I scrub blackened stains from the hob with a haggard scourer. There are watermarks beneath the glass that cannot be undone. We stay up late on the sofa drinking co-op wine and watching Blue Planet with the lights off, the colours from the screen swimming over the bare walls. We try a thing she's read in a magazine where if you stare into another person's eyes for long enough, the heartbeats slowly synchronise. For a minute more, we look at each other in silence, holding hands, trying not to smile. Then, in perfect unison, we both whisper, "Is it working?" She stands to execute a sun salutation as we're watching Newsnight. Her arms stretched towards the ceiling, legs spread, fingers reaching. I can see the twin dimples at the base of her back as her t-shirt lifts, while men on the TV search the rubble for survivors following an earthquake somewhere in the Middle East. I watch her prepare for bed, her face wash routine, the way she tilts her head as she brushes her teeth. Her teeth are small and sweetly crooked. She works up a fluoride spew and spits and taps the brush on the edge of the sink like a conductor. Lying on the bed, with my ear pressed to her chest, I can hear the blood humming through her as she sleeps. A slight dent from a hairband encircles her wrist. She shuffles about in a hoodie and a pair of scuffed Uggs, complaining about the cold because she is suffering, she is sick. The radiators gurgle, but they're all talk. The radial control on the boiler is an arcane device governed by a dark art that I do not understand. And the manual, a wrinkled paper booklet, is stuck face down on the top of the fridge. When I put my ear to the radiators, I can hear them whispering. When I turn their dials all the way up, the pipes let out a collective sigh and something groans beneath the floorboards. "Voices," she says, throwing her arms up in the air. "I hear voices." We spend the rest of the evening pulling whole swathes of wallpaper off in great strips, exposing the yellowish plaster beneath. We discover a complex network of delicate cracks, vast contours of damp spreading in all directions, hidden geographies. There is a telephone number scrawled at shoulder height by the light switch. A constellation of small polyfilled holes makes a rectangular pattern where perhaps a phone was once affixed. We move the sofa back and peel more paper away to uncover a series of markings in bright crayon, mostly senseless scribbles, children's doodles, although some look a little like people or animals. I trace the possible outline of a hand or bird thing with my fingers. I follow two distinct lines that rise separately from the skirting board like legs to meet in a waist-high arc the shape of a wishbone, then sprout at the apex into a sudden storm of swirls, rising bloomingly as smoke rises from a volcano before departing in a blunt downwards stroke, a crude nudge into female form. Now that, she says, raising her eyebrows over a milky tea, is a vagina. For the risotto, I have replaced the dried porcini mushrooms with soggy white ones and the chestnut mushrooms with extra rice. I pour in half a glass of cheap white wine and am slowly drinking my way through the rest of the bottle. I have lost all sense of the whole. I stare too long at the squiggles on the walls and they begin to ride. I think of fractals, streams, cauliflowers, capillaries, lungs. I refill my glass and focus instead on the simple pleasure of a pot of boiling peas, waiting for things to take some kind of form. She lowers the folded paper back into her lap, frowns, then raises it again. Moments later, she slaps it onto the arm of the sofa, stands up, shakes her head, and walks away. This means she thinks it is good. If she is really enjoying something, she makes a sound of utter disgust. I find a hardened lemon down in the sticky space beside the fridge, and it feels hollow, almost weightless, like a carbon copy of a lemon. In the darkness, I listen. I feel my way to the bed. I slither across the sheets till I stretched on my side, one arm extended beneath the pillow above my head, my hips slightly twisted. I press my knee gently, snugly into the crook of her leg. I slide my right hand into the fold of her arm, past her ribs, and place it on the soft swell of her belly. I search for the heat of her breath. I kiss her crusty winter lips. She tells me to wake her up when the documentary finishes, but I don't wake her. Her hand grows heavy on my chest as she drifts into sleep, the slightest increase in weight as a sponge grows heavy with water. I think of those ancient humans descending into the underworld to make their mark. They went as far as their fires would take them, sometimes so far they could not find their way out again. What drove them to go so deep?
Thank you.
And of course, that being Mike's first short story, that was his first public performance as well. So, well done, Mike.